To be honest, sometimes I just need a break from scrapbooking. Sometimes I just want to make something pretty. I love making all kinds of paper craft projects, especially the cute ones, and that's what I'm doing today. I've pulled out the Jelly Tote die that I recently received from Diva Designs. I've popped on some Netflix and I'm going to make a sweet little gift for a friend. Let me show you how fun this project is to put together. I'll be sure to leave a link to the Diva Designs store in the comments below, and a reminder that if you use my code created by Gwen, you'll get your dies at 10% off. Here's a look at the die set that I'm working with today. This does create a very cute 3D gift bag, and I have gone ahead off camera and die cut out everything that I need. I'm working with single-sided papers for this project, so I have cut out 4 of the front and back pieces and then 4 of the side panels. Now, of course, the die has these extra tab pieces on it. They're the bits that will hold the basket together. That's what makes it 3D. But because I'm working with single-sided papers and I am going to sandwich pieces together, I don't need the tabs for all of the pieces. I am looking for a very neat and clean finish here, so I am going to trim off any of the tabs that I don't need for the structure of the project. I'm also working with 2 very different color schemes here, so I have chosen contrasting colors, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it's super fun, and this project is actually going to be a gift for my daughter, so I wanted to use some bright, happy colors. And secondly, I really thought that it would help me in the construction process. I haven't created anything like this before, and I thought it would help me to identify which pieces are for the outside of the bag and which pieces are for the inside of the bag. Okay, so I need to show you this. For the side parts of the bag, there's a bunch of tabs that run along one edge. That's what creates the curved shape. Now, when I first started folding them down, I was folding them down individually, and that meant that the folds were ever so slightly different from each other. So I came up with this idea to fold them over the top of my ruler. That would give those folds a very straight edge that I could then bend and curve to make the curved shape of the basket. I'm going to construct the outside part of the basket here first, so the first 4 walls of the basket, because I'm going to then use the blue paper, the inner lining, to cover up all of the workings. So you won't see in the end result, you won't see any of those tabs that I'm setting in place here now, because the blue paper will be over the top of them. With those 4 walls constructed, I can now add in the inner lining, and the best way to do that is to actually position it before you add any glue. I wanted to be able to fully take my time and make sure that it was positioned perfectly before adding glue or before having to worry about glue drying. So I have placed it in position, taken my time to really make sure that everything is lined up perfectly, and then simply lifted one section of the piece and added the glue in. I found that that was the best way and the quickest way. So here's the inner lining of the side sections, and for these ones I've had to trim off all of the tabs that run along each edge, as well as a smaller tab that runs along the bottom here. And you'll see me in a moment here position it in place. And it's here that I realized that it was a little bit wide. So I am going to have to take off a very, very thin slice off of both sides and then audition it back in place. This was probably the most tricky part of putting this project together, only because I had to sort of cut a little bit, audition it, cut a little bit more, audition it, and just tweak it as I went to make it fit perfectly. I was also pretty mindful not to cut too much, because if I had made it too short width-wise, there would be little sections of white paper showing through, and I really didn't want that. I'm working on the second inside here now, and as you can see, it's really just a matter of putting it in place, seeing where it's wide or too long, and then trimming the smallest amount possible off and re-auditioning it. Once it was perfectly in place, I then just added some glue and stuck everything down. It's now time to work on the base, and I am going to work on the inside part first. So I have chosen a blue pattern paper for that. You'll notice it's slightly different, and that's because I had already used up a full sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So I've just found something that was sort of consistent, that matched, but was also in that same shade of blue. The bottom section has 4 tabs, which will hold the base in place. So I've just added a little bit of glue to 2 sides and then pressed them down, and then added more glue to the other 2 sides, pressed them down. I did find that it was much easier to work in sections as I built the basket, just so that I could make sure that everything was glued down and nice and secure before moving on to the next step. It's time to add the outer rectangle here, and that's going to cover up all of the white paper at the base. It's at this point that I'm realizing just how well made the dies are, not just in terms of their construction, so they are like really solid and they cut like butter, but this little detail here. So there is an outer rectangle that is pink, and then an inner rectangle which I've created in the blue. And they're only a couple of millimeters apart from each other, but they add this beautiful detail to the project. The second rectangle even has an embossed stitch line on it. So pretty. It's that kind of detail that make these dies extra special, I think, including this bit. Here's another example. So instead of it just being one rectangular piece that makes up the label for the bag, she's created it as 2 separate rectangles that perfectly layer into each other. And the top one also has that embossed stitching design on it. I'm going to position this piece at the top center of the bag here, and I did run it through the Sizzix machine twice because I'm going to add it to the inside of the bag here as well, and that will just cover up the white paper that would show through otherwise. That's the base of the bag complete. It's now time to decorate it. I'll be working with the Bolt Heart Butterfly Bow die because this bag needs a bow. This die is made for layering, so I am going to create a couple of extra layers here. This is also the perfect size for using up your paper scraps. One of the ideas I recently shared in that video, how to use up paper scraps, was to pre-cut out a bunch of shapes or to create embellishments for projects in advance. So this die would be so fun to do that with because you've got the butterfly shapes as well as the bows. For each of the layers in this butterfly bow, I have really just used what I had. So leftover pieces from the papers that I used to make the bag itself. I have also added in just 1 sheet of green, and I've gone with that because I wanted there to be a little bit of contrast between the pink in the bag and the bow itself, just so it would stand out a little bit. This one is super easy to build. The layers just layer on top of each other, and then the bow you just fold into the center and then it layers on top as well. There is a rectangular piece that you can position last, and that actually secures it all together really, really well. I've given that a few moments to dry, and now I can fluff up the wings. I can separate out all the paper layers and really create this 3D element to add to my bag. I decided to add it to the right hand side of the handle here, and then on the left I've pulled out just a couple of simple embellishments from this same paper collection. The tag at the top says "just for you," and then underneath that there's a ribbon that says "yay," and I've just punched a hole in the top of those and secured it here with a simple white ribbon. This is going to be a gift bag for my daughter, and I have got her some fresh study supplies. So she is in year 12, and as you would imagine, year 12 is a lot of pressure, and I like to balance out that pressure with fun things. So I did go go to the store and get her some really cute stationery items that will help her study. I've included a lined notebook and some lovely new pens, as well as these pastel coloured highlighters. They're super cute. And then for something a little bit fun, I got her some Smarties because she is a Smartie and I know that she's going to do very well in her upcoming exams. There really are so many fun gifts that you could create with this bag. I know she's going to love this. If you'd like to see all of the dies that I received from Scrap Diva Designs, be sure to watch this video next. I'll see you all again very soon. Until then, bye!